I'm Laura Vinroot Poole, and this is What We Wore.
Our guest today is Jenny Bird, the founder and designer of her namesake jewelry brand. Jenny shares so much wisdom from her quarter-life crisis to building a career that's an extension of who you are, even entering perimenopause as a female founder. Jenny, tell me, I assume you're Canadian.
I am.
You seem nice. Where are you from?
I grew up in a tiny artistic town. It's really famous for its beauty, Elora, Ontario, till grade 5. And then I moved out to a farm just on the outskirts of that town. Actually, my grandpa Bird's farm, we took it over. So I lived a very rural life.
And what kind of farm was it, Jenny?
Just multi like crops, and I had horses and lots of little animals running around. My parents were pursuing other careers, so it was not the farm that our family made our livelihood on, but my parents both came from that upbringing. So it was a beautiful, spacious place to dream as a child and have, just such peace, really, and nature. Also very isolating.
Yeah. We seem like we're about the same age, so no internet, things like that.
Yeah, no internet, no cable TV out there. We had 4 stations that we could turn on a dial to get. I didn't see, any cable TV until I was in university. We just didn't have it.
Yeah.
But I didn't know any better, so I was happy.
And how many people lived there? Your grandparents were there?
Yeah, my grandparents were around the corner, both on their own. What happens at least in Canada with farmers when they retire is they sever a lot off the farm. They can still see the farm, but they build a bungalow beside it, and both grandparents did that. And so they were just down. One was walkable and one was about a 10-minute car drive away.
Wow.
In the countryside. And my parents met in like a junior farmers hayride, which was the big community group for kids, youth, and farm when they grew up.
And then do you have siblings?
I have one older sister who now lives with my parents in the nearest biggest city. They've all moved out of the country.
And were y'all so you were into horses, and did you do crafts and things like that? Or
yeah, I mean, it was a Hallmark movie, really, in terms of the beauty of the town and our farm. And crafts were, what was the hard part about it is there was not a lot of means, right? Like my parents were very poor growing up, and then I was raised just middle class. My parents had both pursued professions to do that for themselves. But the power of craft, I saw early on. My mom sewed her own wedding dress. Both my grandmothers had dedicated sewing rooms in their homes, which I just went to as soon as I got in the door.
Yeah.
With the sewing machine always there and ready, mainly because they needed to make the clothes for their numerous kids.
Right.
Financially needed to, but I was just enthralled by the possibilities of like a roll of fabric from a young age, seeing them do that.
Do you have a first memory of sewing something or choosing the fabric and the pattern?
The most poignant is likely a pillow in home ec class in grade 7, because it was a tangible piece of decor I could put in my bedroom. But earlier than that was thousands, probably hundreds of scrunchies. Yeah, that's the easiest gateway.
But it is, but it's also like so fun to pick fabrics for that and colors.
Oh, the transformation of a raw material into a product is still what drives me forward today. Like, it's so exciting to see the possibilities in material, and therefore material shopping becomes the most exciting part still today. Like, still chains and different components that we could integrate into our collections. I still find that like just so exciting, or vintage parts as well.
Do you have a first fashion memory?
Oh, there wasn't a lot of fashion around us, right? There was no high school in my town, so I was bused to the nearest town over. So were a lot of other farm kids. And so you've got small town kids and farm kids. Among those, I do remember actually one set of twins, and their family had some money. And so they were wearing the latest clothes from the Gap that obviously was like a mall, an hour. It was just like, at that point, the latest like plaid wool skirt from the Gap was fashion in our town. Yeah. And I just remember, because they would have to drive like a couple of hours into the city to get to the Gap. And I remember seeing them walking in the halls and understanding really the power of good taste and style. And when you're wearing clothes that suit you, they had wonderful taste. And it wasn't too long after that that I had a chance to start to build my own, go to the Gap myself. Uh, our nearest even city where my family lives now didn't even have it. We had to drive further than that. Um, and then get exposed later on in life to like how big the fashion world actually was.
Huh.
But I would say the other influence for me for fashion earliest memory was just my dad.
Hmm.
He was building a life for himself with the little means he had, starting an insurance business. And the way he would put himself together in the morning with such intention to be the successful business entrepreneur that he wanted to be and dressing like that before he was. I remember him hanging his suit jacket in the car, never sitting on it.
Hmm.
There was just such care in how he put himself together.
Yeah.
So I think those two were the biggest early fashion memories. Yeah.
I love that. What about do you have a first jewelry memory?
My mom's drawers, those drawers, the top shallow drawer in the dresser lined with those beaded necklaces. And then that was how hers were lined in the drawer. And then my grandmother's both had the classic dressing table with all the plastic beads and pearls hanging on
Yes.
the little hooks
Yes.
and just going into that dressing table. And again, they didn't have much, but what they had was hung with such care.
Mm.
And God, those beads would be amazing today, you
Probably
know?
Bakelite, really. Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah. And so out of high
Mhm.
school, what did you pursue in university?
I followed the path of um, security and financial security that my parents knew that I was capable of whatever I wanted to do, but let's make sure that, she never is poor like we were growing up and business school was suggested. And so I followed that. I didn't have my own voice and opinion about what my life should be until I hit my quarter life crisis at 25 and really
Okay, wait.
after.
I'm so into this. Wait. Well, because I definitely had a quarter life crisis. I have a 21-year-old daughter who's just finished one. Um,
Ah,
this is a new concept, right? Like, I mean, I think that they don't even consider depression in late adolescent women specifically to be depression. They now think it's called quarter life crisis, which is really
mm,
like a totally new concept. And when you think about it that way, it's so empowering.
it is. I think it's good.
It's
It's a
awesome.
checkpoint.
My mom had
Yeah.
it too in the 60s, like, and I think we all thought it was depression.
Mm.
And now reframing it is so helpful.
Yeah, that's really empowering. I
Yeah.
think we have a natural tendency to please everyone and be successful to our parents and want to be as kids just by how they reacted to us growing up. And so I was a VP of marketing. My parents were very proud. I was happy to make them proud.
Yeah.
But I had a career, I didn't have a life.
Yeah.
I didn't have the life that I wanted. When I started to chat with people who introduced me to the notion that you could, it was very like bewildering, and like you said, it threw me. Um, what was it all for?
Yeah.
This life is so short. Doesn't anyone want to just pursue joy?
I know. And Jenny, let me ask you this, because in my experience, and I think in my daughter's too, um, did you feel alone in that? Because I really did. I think she and I both did, because everybody else seemed to be totally fine,
Mm,
just moving along, not thinking about
mm.
anything, just like, this is all fine. I'm just going to keep on going. Did you have any support in that at the time, or is it upon reflection that you understand it to be a quarter life crisis?
I felt very alone,
Yeah.
very misunderstood.
Yeah.
I actually thought, why isn't anyone else feeling like this?
Yeah. Everybody just seems to be sailing along, not thinking.
Yeah. Yeah, it was only till really a lot later, after everyone thought I was crazy and I was
Yes.
pursuing the early stages of Jenny Bird, that then people reaction would be, "Wow, I love that you did that." And then I could tell that their reaction was, "What? Maybe I should do something too."
Yeah.
It was only later that I realized the validation, not that you need it from anyone, but it is really hard to do something really challenging at the same time while feeling alone.
Yeah.
Because up until that point, I had nothing but support for all of my choices and my pursuits. And then you're going to do the hardest thing you've ever done with everyone, like with no one. It felt like no one really truly understanding you. Especially up in Canada, there's not as much of a entrepreneurial culture up here.
Yeah.
It's very provincial. It's very like following the path.
Yeah.
And so it was a very isolating time. But I just had this knowing that I would just be I could build this life of my dreams on the other side, and it was going to be worth it.
Huh.
Yeah.
Extraordinary, really. So business school, and also did you have like during that time were you like, I have to get out of this place, whatever I do has to be out of this small town?
I had left the small town to pursue marketing. Actually, similar. I just listened to Claire Hornby
Yeah.
and her background. I had pursued a brand marketing career. So there was a pivotal moment when in that, so I was already working in Toronto, flying back and forth to New York for work in other cities. And there was a pivotal moment in Boston when I realized I was there for work, that was it, that I needed to make a change.
Mm-hmm.
I was then around middle-aged people who had stayed and hadn't made that change. And it scared me more to not do it.
And so you worked in marketing for 8 or 10 years?
I did.
And
yeah.
what was your biggest lesson in that? What did you learn?
I said I'd observed female CMOs at massive Fortune 500 companies and watching them in a meeting. We were consultants that were coming in to do brand strategy from an ad agency perspective. And I thought, I don't want that career. She's moving her family all over the States for this job to work for these corporations. It just felt so soulless and not purpose-led.
Yeah.
Fine for some, but I didn't understand it. And this was where my business degree path was supposed to be. This is supposed to be the pinnacle of a successful life. And so I guess I realized that the gig was up on what was supposed to be this happy path in my career. And that day in Boston for work, I had a few hours after my meetings to go before a flight home. And I went into a fashion store, and I've always been one to put myself in a future state to see if I really loved it, to help me manifest. And I walked into one of the best fashion specialty stores in Boston, and I said, I was Jenny Bird. I didn't have a handbag line yet. That's how I started. Before jewelry, it was bags. I said, I have a handbag line to the woman who was manager in the store. And could I get the owner's email? I'd send her a lookbook. And she said, oh, Jenny Bird, I think I've heard of that. And I was like, yeah, for sure. It's contemporary. Anyway, I'll send you guys a lookbook. And I walked out so high and excited. And I just thought, this is how I want to feel. I want to make these bags. So I stopped. I bought a Nordstrom. I bought a bag to take apart to understand the pattern making side on the way home.
Wow.
And that was the decision. Yeah.
That's amazing.
I think standing in your future state always and seeing how you feel. I just felt alive.
That's amazing. Were you a bag person? I'm not a bag person.
No. And I never was. And for some reason, I thought that was the best thing to start the business in. It was so hard. Oh my God, Laura, like the functionality, the cost of beautiful leather, the cost of beautiful hardware, the manufacturing domestically, the whole thing was almost impossible.
Wow. And this is early 2000s?
Yes, this is like right at the precipice. Rebecca Minkoff had some progress at this point. There was other accessible luxury brands coming in. I got a trunk show at Henry Bendel at the time to launch the bags. It was, out of pure hustle, like just in like calling and introducing myself and walking in the store and saying this bag line was coming. And then the recession hit in 2009, and the whole business, all of my investment fell out from under me because no one was buying me. Fendi and Gucci, they were all on sale for $500. There was all the agents I had lined up to represent me called, and they, said, Jenny, I have no market for you.
Exactly.
But in doing the bags, like in any hardship, that's such a gift, right? There was such a moment of, okay, am I going to be resilient and pivot? I had a taste of being a founder and a designer and having like this beautiful life. And so I had made custom hardware on the bags and really enjoyed the casting process and learning that. And so I quickly developed a first little jewelry collection and sold that on my kitchen table. And I loved every minute of it. It was like a natural design language to me, like designing these little sculptures. It came more natural than the bags. They were always like a love-hate designing those bags.
Can I rewind a minute and ask you, who introduced you to the idea that a job could be more of a natural extension to who you were before the walking into the store in Boston and saying you had a handbag line when you didn't?
Yeah. So just before that, the gumption, the sort of bravado to actually do it came from a woman named Erica Engel. She's a psychotherapist in Toronto. And I was promoted to VP in my brand marketing career and sent on this professional development day, ironically, to this woman who who was leading it, and she was, coaching executives to achieve their potential. And I had a session with her after because she just seemed so fascinating. And here was a woman the age of my mom telling me it was okay to actually do this for myself and to take a risk, where I had the opposite guidance from home because I understood why. Um, and I had a session with her, and I was talking about what I knew my innate talent was, both in creating products and ideas and being a trend hunter. I knew I had that natural ability, but also in creating a brand. And she just looked at me and said, "Why don't you do that for yourself?" And I just loved that this woman of that generation was giving me permission. I needed to hear it.
And what about people in your personal life? Were you married at the time?
None.
None.
I mean, my husband, I was like, "Okay, Birdie." Like, we met at university, so he always calls me Bird. Like, everyone called me Bird at school. So he's like, "Bird, yeah, whatever. Like, go for it." He was steadfast always. But she was the one that introduced me to that idea. And once it was in my head, it was always simmering at the surface. But once someone said, "Here's a key, go, it's up to you." It was so empowering. I remember that day like yesterday.
Have you been in communication with her since ever again?
She's come to we had these crazy sample sales when the brand was just like early on fire, like 8 years in, and it was just line up around the block in Toronto, and she would come to those, and it would just be she was like, "Look what you did."
God.
It was amazing.
That's awesome. I would cry my eyes out.
Me too. Me too.
Okay, so back to 2009 when the bags didn't work out. How did you reorganize the business or put that together?
I mean, we really had nothing but boxes of our first production run of bags that nobody wanted. We tried to sell those off cheaply for some cash. We are 100% bootstrapped to date, which has been a beautiful way to be. And so we just had to make it work. It was about getting the little bit of money in to then develop that first jewelry collection, and not to be afraid that it just was what it could be. I needed my mortgage payment that month. So I had so I could make with materials without getting expensive equipment or hiring expensive factories and casting and making a lot of molds. What could I do with materials that were readily available to me and make a product that was, what could I concoct? It's like cooking in a recipe with all these beads and other parts, and I could learn to make leather closures, and how could I put all of this together in a craft that would look and be so high fashion because of the way that I put it together. And my designs were all handmade by me at the beginning. I would go to New York and source the coolest vintage beads. This was at the time Lizzie Fortunato was starting out too.
Yeah.
I love those girls.
So good.
And they were the same. They had an eye to put together raw materials in a way that was so chic. And that's what I did at first. It didn't require high capital expense. I would get some sales. I was doing small local sales while still pursuing this high contemporary brand vision. I would know that I would get some money and start to like put it back into the business to get more sophisticated as a designer and learn better, learn to cast, and eventually fly overseas and beg a factory that I knew was top in the game to take me, which is what I had to do.
And Jenny, was the name was the same, and the marketing, was that all the same? It was the handbags were Jenny Bird as well as the jewelry.
Yeah, it was always Jenny Bird. I mean, the first logo had, the serif font and was very different as my taste got better. My taste, I think, keeps getting better and better as I age.
Yeah.
So I give myself permission to evolve the brand in front of the market as I evolve. And that is really important, actually, for that to be free to do that, because it's never going to be perfect and it's never going to be relevant if it stays the same. So, I had the serif font and this like very classic traditional identity, and then that morphed over the years. My main word mark has stayed the same now in terms of typography. But of course, the product and the evolution, I'm proud of it. It's no different than a recording artist. I evolved, so it evolved. As I got more sophisticated, everything in the brand did. And I think what holds a lot of young founders up today is that they feel like they need it to be so perfect before they put anything out there.
Yeah.
And it can be just so rewarding, and you can get so many insights to help you shape it if you do just start to share things and don't judge yourself so much,
Were you marketing to the same stores as well as you had worked with before, or was it a whole different group?
Well, the bags, I got a few, no, similar stores like, so back in that time, early 2000s, we needed intermix. We needed shop
Yeah.
bop. I needed to be carried there because I knew that the independent specialty stores like Capital were watching at that time, not anymore,
Yeah.
were watching what they picked up because
Yeah.
those fashion directors were very influential. So I had them on my vision board and I relentlessly pursued my dream partners until they carried the brand. I just asked them what they needed. I made what they needed. I listened to what they were looking for. And I remember the day Intermix sent me an order for a necklace I made.
Wow. Well, that was what I
Yeah.
was going to ask. What was the gap that you saw in the market for jewelry?
Oh, jewelry is a wild west. It is so commoditized. It is filled with companies that are pumping money behind designs that are not original
Yeah.
to them,
Yeah.
often duplicated from others. We get that all the time now, and just soulless. And so what I was excited to do was to make these beautiful mini sculptures that were very intentional in all ways. They had the quality and the engineering of fine jewelry in the fashion space because no one was taking the time. It's a profitable category, so it gets licensed out a lot, and people just like it's like quick bake,
Yeah.
It's like ready baked croissants. It's like boop, boop, boop. Versus like, wait a minute, how can, what are some original concepts in engineering we can bring into this category and how beautiful we can make this product and have a crazy beautiful brand experience. It's so luxurious and have a fair price point. No one was doing that. And that's that sweet spot, right, of price and quality that I'm always still so obsessed with hitting. And then it became very clear to me that I really had a disdain for stones and sparkle, even that word.
Huh.
And so clean metals were just, I thought, so chic, and no one was doing it well. Marc Jacobs, Kate Spade, even Michael Kors, like dominating the department store cases at the time with these enamel, colorful jewelry. Like this is it. Like I'm walking into, the department stores and these are my options. The very cool jewelry I was interested in was either vintage or more obscure independent lines that then weren't having that like commercial visibility. And I thought it would be really cool to do both.
I also think one of the things that you do so well that is hard for me to even understand is my daughter and I were talking about it the other day how jewelry is really tough because you have, you have what, 5 categories: bracelets, rings, necklaces,
Yeah.
earrings. And there's only so much you can do. And I think one of the
Yeah.
things that is really clear about your jewelry from the start is it really doesn't look like anything else. Like I've never, it
Thank you.
doesn't, it's not even similar to anything else. How do you have that singular vision, especially in something that you had no, you had no experience in and you just jumped into?
I think that kind of gives you an advantage, right?
Yeah.
I remember early on just feeling a little sickened by like taking in, of course, I looked at what other brands were doing, so I knew what was on the market.
Hmm.
But then it became like um, almost poisonous to pay attention to. And it was feeding my subconscious with shapes and things that were already there. And so there was a moment when I decided to just not pay attention. And that was really beneficial. I always think of it as like writing my own song. I go off and like I think of it, I do think there's a lot of parallels to the music industry and an album and jewelry collections. And I always just go off and try to Madonna myself, but stay true to my but so it's going to be fresh and innovative. That's what we need to do. People want to be excited. They're buying they're they don't need the same thing over and over and over, especially when it's well made. So I would just give myself permission to be free and not watch and design something that I loved. And the one natural outcome is if it goes through one person's taste, it will look distinctively Jenny Bird.
Right.
Like if I love it, it's gonna look like JB
I think also the fact that you sculpt is unusual.
in clay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, analog, I don't know how designers design completely digitally in like 3D renderings. I think it helps us. It does. We use it. It helps us refine ideas, hollow things out, get the weight right so that the outer shape stays as dramatic. But coming up with an idea, if it has to come out of the clay for me or out of the pencil. like sketching, because then I can like erase, I mean, I think you talked about this with Claire too. It's the same thing. I want designers who want to get their hands dirty, because and in the analog process, that's where I reach a creative flow. It goes back to me making the jewelry myself for the first few years, I guess. Um, yeah, why not?
Yeah. Tell me why you've chosen to build the business slowly and never take outside investment. Did somebody recommend that to you, or that was just from
No, there was times when we really needed it.
Yeah.
My husband and I, oh my God, there was
I
really,
understand.
I'm sure you do. Yeah, it's really hard in those times, eh? Because you feel like the funds will give you the oxygen you need, but I was always more scared of the pressure that it would give me to have to return that.
Mm-hmm.
We did once when we really ran out, like we were done. Like we had used our 9 lives, and we put a PowerPoint presentation together and drove down the highway to both parents and asked for $75,000 each from both of our sets of parents, and that we would repay it, and we showed them the business plan, and which we did actually in 3 years. I think we did it in two. So they were a lifeline at one point, but that was it. Otherwise, a lot of credit card debt.
Yeah.
I cashed in all my savings, like all my RSPs. And the worst part is my dad at that point was my investment
He
manager.
was like, no, Jenny.
His office knew when I was calling to cash in the end of my, yeah. But I think, if you need it, you need it. But if there's ways to do it with people that are not going to hold you accountable to numbers on paper and really just believe in you and your vision and building a special brand,
Yeah.
take it from them instead.
Yeah. What were the biggest moments when you knew that you were setting yourself up for long-term success?
My secret has always been operating bigger than I was before that stage. And so I would say each moment we got a new lease.
Yeah.
Because I just was going to be the company that needed that office. And I would get it before we needed it.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah.
What personal or professional challenge are you facing now?
Menopause.
Yeah. I'm 54.
Okay. Yeah, Peri, I'm right in the heart of Peri near the tail end. It is wild.
Yes.
And I bring that up because we don't talk about it enough. But as women in this stage of life, I have young kids too. I had kids late. So I have a 6-year-old and an 11-year-old.
Oh my God, Jenny.
Yeah. And I don't think you're not biologically like supposed to be doing that at the same time as then your aging parents. And so I think the feeling of time running out with my parents is going to make me cry.
Yeah.
It's so true.
I know. It is. I've lived it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's so hard.
Yeah. It's so hard. But I think as a woman like this right now, this is hormonal surge. But, I think you have to balance ambition with where your heart truly wants to be.
Yeah.
And I think you can. I think you can do that. You have to hire more in your business so you can do that.
It's so true. Because you're an almost all-female business, right, Jenny? As am I.
Yeah, we have an all-female C-suite.
Yeah.
Which is amazing. And I think, one of the things that I've done really well is to hire that support around me so that I can, when people say I do it all, no, I don't do it all. Actually, I have incredible professional executive women around me that know this brand and have so much institutional knowledge here because they've been here for many years with me and know how to carry the brand forward. And our women. And so that is the biggest gift because we as women, I think our biggest advantage is we have this natural intuition.
Yeah.
And we know, I always follow the rule, unless it's a full body, yes, it's a no.
Yeah.
And so I think like it's, yes, you have to have the professional experience, but to have those women around me that are actually used to and practicing listening to their inner voices and being conscious leaders in the company has been amazing. And it's allowed me to spend more time with my parents and my kids and feel like I can, have it all, not do it all, but have it
Well,
all.
there's also, I wish had Joe Rogan's producer, because there's some crazy statistic about women leaving the workforce during perimenopause. It's like 75%, and it is because of all those things. It's because you're dealing with aging parents and children, and
Yeah.
and nobody talks about that. I wish I could. Meredith will tell me what
That's a
the
whole other episode.
it's a whole
Yeah.
other
They
episode.
do
But
they
so,
do say though. Oh,
but I was gonna say,
sorry.
does your team is all different ages of women, correct? All,
Yes.
yeah, 20s, 30s,
Yeah.
40s, 50s, 60s.
No 60s. I think I'm the oldest one, right? Yeah. Um,
But the
I'm the
things that you
matron.
face in every decade, I think, is different too. I mean, I think everybody's, dealing with different stuff.
100%. And I think that it's very difficult as a mother in perimenopause because as much as your partner, if he's a man, can be supportive, and I have an amazingly supportive one, there's no way for them to understand.
No.
Um, and there is a natural tendency to want to be alone
Yeah.
because you are going through such a significant transformation. You do want to, isolate yourself,
Mm.
and there's a real craving for that.
Mhm.
That can be really hard on your partner and them to understand. I verbalize it, but it is. I've heard that menopause, perimenopause into menopause, is like a caterpillar going into a chrysalis. That it's
Yes.
such a significant full body, full being transformation that it liquefies completely before it transforms into a butterfly. And I'm like, wow.
I love that.
So, and it does feel like that. It feels like I'm meeting myself anew.
Yes, for sure. And it's funny, I was talking to a person on my team who's in her 40s, and she was asking about it, like, why is this happening? The night sweats and the, like, I feel crazy. And I said, one of the ideas about it is that your body is actually shaking you by the shoulders and being like, what are you doing? What are you doing with your life? Like, is this the direction you really want to go in? And that is the whole point of perimenopause, I guess, is to move into menopause and go along back to that quarter life crisis, right? Like, go the path that the right path, and to think about it and to really consciously say, actually, this is where I want to go.
You're so right. I was just going to say that it's exactly right back to that.
It is.
Where you're choosing meeting yourself anew on the other side, and yeah, it's a really powerful time, and to do that while running a company,
Yeah.
and having to be stable, it
Yes.
really it really takes all. You might cry on a podcast, but
I do it every time.
no, I mean, it's human. I always, there was that old adage of not being able to cry in the workplace, and we fully embrace it here. You know,
We do too.
uh, oh, that's great.
Is there something that you once believed about yourself that's no longer true?
Yes, I thought, okay, I was so indifferent. I was so indifferent about kids. Like, I was like,
Oh,
I don't even, I would be a good mom, a natural mom. Like, I just don't really care about children. Um, and it turns out that I'm a very natural mom and I love it.
yeah. I feel the same way. And I think also, can't believe, again, my daughter's 21, like, can't believe I could have missed that, because I was totally indifferent too. And
Really?
I live in the South, and so everybody has planned their 4.4 children, like, and I just never
Oh
had,
my
I
God.
didn't have any of that. I didn't grow up with that plan.
And so what flipped the switch for you?
You know what actually did? It's actually very interesting. I was probably 8 or 10 years into my career, and I saw a woman, a designer, um, working as a mother in the way that I wanted to work. I saw the possibility.
Wow.
Yeah, it was like the first, again, because I live in the South. I didn't know women that worked. I mean, I didn't see that, and I didn't see
Yeah.
a light, an example of a
Yeah.
life that I wanted. And I was able to. And it literally was the next day. I told my husband, I think I want to have a baby, and he's like, okay. but
Uh,
but to see a creative working artist with children.
yeah, that's incredible. And I love these like flexible, supportive men we have.
Yeah,
Okay.
I know.
Well, that's what mine was like too. He was like, okay, just one. And I was like, okay, one.
I have one
And then
too.
I had,
Oh, you had two?
oh, you have, We had, well, yeah, because I had this vision. I met her in my dreams, and my clairvoyant, who I really trust, told me that this daughter was coming from my maternal side and blah, blah. And I was like, I think we just have to try for her. I think she's coming to us. And he was, yeah, every time we have a hard day, he's like, I told you one. You should have had one. But we have two, yeah, two.
Jenny, I've heard from your team that working with you feels like working with a crystal ball because of the way that you
Oh, yeah.
understand women and what they'll want to wear next season. Where is that
Hmm.
coming from?
I don't know. It's just like I was born with that. Thank God for that because it made building this brand possible because it's a contemporary brand and therefore it has to service the trends. I always just had it as just an innate gift. And I enjoy it. I think what I do best though is I beat the trends at their own game, right? Because you can't fall victim to them, and just deliver them because that's not what our women wants. We have sophisticated women that want to look very current and forward, but have pieces that will last a long time. So what I do is, like I said, I beat the trends at their own game, where I take the best of them, and then interpret it into um, take the best of it and interpret into what it could mean in a more timeless expression, so that that woman gets that service of looking updated, but has something also that like she will pass on and will look modern for years. Otherwise, if you don't do that, you end up with this redundant collections that everyone's spinning out that are trendoid, and and you don't have your own brand's point of view.
Yep.
So I think that the art in that is what the only thing as we scale this company now that I should be focused on doing,
Mm.
because it really is the best, the value that I bring. And like we all did at the beginning, you do every single role and then you hire, you know, experts at what you don't do best. And so I'm trying to do only that and then our charitable work as well. But I think, that is the art for me, is translating as a contemporary brand, is doing that well, translating the zeitgeist into pieces that will service our community that way. And, there's some contemporary brands that do that really well in apparel that I love to follow, and bags like Metier. You guys carry a
Yeah.
few of these
Hmm.
brands. Um, Gabriella Hearst,
Hmm.
like, I mean, I think Guest in Residence does a good job of that for knitwear. It's what I want to wear.
We carry all of them.
So
Yeah.
I, oh, you carry all those.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And me and Em is another one,
Yeah.
right? Me
Yeah.
and Em, I can't wait to try that brand. It's been on my radar for so long. And after you interviewed her, I'm excited to try them.
She's awesome. How does your Canadian heritage play into what you do and who you are?
Oh, well, who I am, we tend to be too humble for sure. I always say we need to brag more about our amazing accomplishments. It makes it harder to start a brand. I mean, I had to sell in the US. The entire country of Canada does not spend as much
Yeah.
as the city of LA on accessories. The entire country.
Well, it's a
So
small
like,
country. I mean, a huge and a population small.
yeah, and disposable income and
Yeah.
percentage of wealthy households that have it to spend and everything is just so much less. So it made, I pursued the brand's beginnings in wholesale in the US, where it's 10 times the size,
Mm.
the market there. So it just made sense. I would get, at a department store here, like called Renfro, get an order for 4 pieces of a necklace, and Intermix's first order, which they reordered 2 weeks later, was 100 pieces for that same necklace. Um, so it was where if I wanted to make a living, it was south of the border. And so
Yeah.
that's logistically tough because
Yeah.
you're having to fly there and spend the money on doing trade shows and distribution in the US, but it was how to do it.
Is there anything that I haven't asked that feels important?
Well, I think one thing to share to aspiring founders is just to remember your inner voice always knows. There's times when you think, like in terms of a piece of advice, there's lots of times when I've thought I need an outside expert or a senior person in an area to come in and help us.
Mm.
And in the end, you can take the knowledge, but you need to be the one to make a decision of how to act with that knowledge. Only you know how to best steer your brand forward
Yep.
when you're building a special brand and not, some corporate machine. And that's something to remind yourself of because you often feel like someone knows more than you and you need their knowledge or you need their decisions. You need their knowledge maybe, but not their decision.
Well, one of the things I read about you were suggesting to young entrepreneurs that I disagreed with this. I actually thought the opposite, but I've been considering it all night, thinking about it. But you suggested that you share your dream with as many people as possible, where I always felt like that was damaging. And I don't know if it's regional, just where I'm from, that, anytime I would say I'm opening a store, people would be like, well, that's going to fail. Or, like, that sounds crazy. You'll do that for a couple of years. So I learned never to share my dreams. I mean, I manifest them personally and live them and all of that, but I don't
Wow.
spread it around.
Well, I think there's a happy medium. I think you definitely don't want to do that with people that are going to give you that negative energy back,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
But you do it in circles and with people that you know that can help you. And even if it's going to be negative back from them, or, you need them. And with people and circles that, would just like give you fuel to fly, right? Like, I think the thing when you're building something and you're around people that have not taken an alternative path, it is very important that you build a community with people that believe in that path around you, and you have to build that. It's part of this building of this life around you while you build your new idea. So I would say that my advice would be to share it for sure, because it helps the universe deliver what you need to you.
Yeah.
The more people who know about it, but be wise with, like I wasn't sharing my ideas with people that were scared for me and were projecting fear on me.
Well, and I think for me, it was always, it was people you didn't expect. It would be like your mom that was like, oh, that sounds scary. And you're like, I don't need that from you. I need you to believe in me.
Yeah, I think if you know that really will deflate your wings, then you be careful, more careful personally.
Yeah.
For me, I had such a determination that I had that from my family, and in the early days, a lot of fear and their own projections. But it sort of gave me the fuel. Like, I knew that I was fiery. Like, I was going to build it out of spite, basically, to say that it is possible. That drove me forward.
Yeah.
So I think just knowing what you can safely expose yourself to, but getting yourself around people that believe in the possibilities of believe on living on that side of the fence in life, which I believe there's two sides. There's people that are creating and adding to culture, and there's people that are just consuming.
Yep.
And you need to, like, I was so excited to be. And for whatever reason, maybe it's fear-based, or, they've just followed their path. But getting yourself immersed with people that are excited about living on the adding to and the creating side of life
Love that.
is like the best advice.
Last question we always ask: in rural Ontario, did you have a prom, and what did you wear?
Okay, I have a crazy prom story. I thought it wasn't cool. I was like already choosing an alternative path, I guess. I thought it wasn't cool. So did my boyfriend. So we decided to go skydiving instead. I asked our parents for the money. Yeah. And so instead of doing the dress and the suit, and it just wasn't really like our crew wasn't going at school. Like, it wasn't like we were missing it. It wasn't done really well at our high school anyway.
Yeah.
So we spun for our parents into budget for skydiving.
And what was that like?
Well, he chickened out. I'm not even joking.
Really?
Yeah.
You didn't marry him.
I did not marry him.
You definitely didn't.
We definitely broke up before university. I went on my own. I was so into this idea, and I couldn't believe that he dropped out of that. He was just, I mean, you had to let him. He was scared, or his parents didn't allow, I don't know what it was. I forget exactly why, but he bailed.
That's hilarious.
And I went on my own. Yeah.
And was
So
it
funny.
cool? I mean, did you do it again, or that was the only time?
Oh my God, I can't believe I did that. I remember the moment I did it. I would never be able to do that now.
No.
I was much more comfortable with like putting myself in those positions at that age. No.
Me too.
I think of that almost every time I'm on a plane and look up at that certain height that I did it on. And I did the line where you don't jump out with someone. You actually climb out onto the wing and you have an auto release. So you have to like off go yourself.
No,
Yeah. I don't know how I did that.
I don't either. but I'm proud of
It was cool, but I don't need to do that again.
that was the time.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jenny Bird. This was excellent. Just really
Ah,
enjoyed being with you.
me too. Me too.
Love to have you come down here sometime.
I can't wait to get there. I can't wait to shop.
And I'll come up and see you and we'll go to La Cubana.
That would be so nice. Thanks, Laura. This was a nice way to start the day.
Thank you. Likewise.